Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spinning and Weaving Week. We're going to be celebrating all week, doing activities virtually this year because we can't get together. So we have a whole lot planned. We're going to have a weave along and a spin along, and we're going to be interviewing some of our favorite weavers and spinners all week. And we'll also have a factory tour. So be sure to join us. You can join us on Instagram or on our newsletter on our website, schachtspindle.com. So today I want to start off with one of everyone's favorite weaving teachers, and she was probably your weaving teacher in person or through her book, Learning to Weave with Deborah Chandler, which has now been in publication for 36 years. That's an amazing accomplishment. So Deborah was weaving and spinning and teaching in the 1970s mostly in Boulder, Colorado. She traveled around and gave workshops. And she wrote an article or articles for Handwoven called Your Weaving Teacher, I think. And then later she joined the Peace Corps. And then after that, she ended up in Guatemala giving tours. And then she was the executive director of Mayan Hands, which many of you may know of, which Deborah will talk about in a little bit too. But one of the reasons I wanted to kick off the week with Deborah is she was one of the people involved and instrumental in starting Weaving and Spinning Week in 1981. So that's 39 years ago. So Deborah, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And can you tell the story how it all got started? Because it just seems like so very long time ago. And here we are, still celebrating.
Which is great. Yes. I think how it started was, it was probably Linda's idea first, Linda Liggins, but the board of the Weaving and Spinning Council, which was a trade association that began to help promote spinning and weaving. The members were manufacturers and weaving shops. And what we wanted to do was something fun to promote spinning and weaving. And so Linda signed us up with the Chase calendar of events to make us official, like National Pickle Week, only now we're National Spinning and Weaving Week. And it's easy to not take that seriously, but in fact, we've done a lot with it over the years. And in the beginning, this was all way pre-internet, of course. We wrote a whole lot of letters, tracking down guilds and shops and people and anybody who we thought could do some activities in their town, whether it was teaching kids or putting on fairs or whatever. And it was fun and people had a good time. And the poster, which you'll show, came up because we needed a graphic, of course. And we were all in love with Tommy de Paola, whose book, Charlie Needs a Cloak, was our favorite, everybody's favorite. And
hold it up so people can see.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, since I can't see what I'm doing, okay. And so I wrote to Tommy and I said, this is what we're doing, and is there any chance you could draw a poster for us? And what we need is a line drawing so that people can color it in, so we can give it to kids to color or whatever. And what we'd like is some weavers and spinners and sheep. And other than that, make up whatever you want. And he sent us back the most wonderful poster, which we've been using ever since. And we were just delighted with it. Can you hold it a little higher so the bottom shows? It's got...
Well, let's see. I'll go up.
There we go. Good.
I can't get it all on my screen. But yeah, here it is.
Now it is.
A print of the original drawing from 1981. And isn't it fun? So this still exists, and it will be available on our website for download, so you can, and you and your kids or yourself can have a coloring contest at home or with your friends virtually. That'd be really fun.
It is fun. And I'll tell you, you can learn things about people, about how they color those. I gave them to all my students in all my classes for 20, 30 years more. And I had one particular class of psychologists, and you should have seen what they did with that. It was really interesting.
Was it scary?
A little.
Oh, that's great. So anyway, yeah, that was in the days before internet. So they got it out to all these people, the poster and the announcement, and people got really enthusiastic about Spinning and Weaving Week. And the Weaving and Spinning Council was just this small organization that couldn't sustain itself. So after maybe 5 or 6 years, it disbanded. So just to bring the story of WISC along, Weaving and Spinning Council, then maybe in the late 90s, another group of spinning and weaving industry people decided to try again. And that organization became known as the Spinning and Weaving Industry Group, also known as SWIG.
Swig.
So, yeah, so I wondered, did the name get established when they were all out having a beer, which everyone in the industry loved to do when they got together? So anyway, SWIG lasted for a few years, and then it got rolled into the National Needlework Association and became the Spinning Weaving Group within that organization, which really was great because it had a lot more organization power than just a few people in our very small industry. And then, as you know, last year, TNNA disbanded. So right now, we don't have a trade organization, but we're still celebrating Spinning and Weaving Week, which now is hosted by the Handweavers Guild of America. So you can go to their website and find a list of their specials on there for this week, and also other activities they have listed. So Deborah, I want to talk about you for a while.
Okay.
So I understand that you have been doing a lot of weaving. So how does it feel to be back at the loom?
It feels great. I've been off for too long, partly for too much work and partly for a series of accidents. And I'm finally back on and loving it. It's as good for me as it ever has been for everybody all along. So I'm weaving presents for my nieces and things for our house, and it's just a real treat. And this week, the Weave a Real Piece, which is another organization I'm involved with, is having an auction, and I've actually offered to weave something for somebody on that auction. So
Fabulous.
It's a kick. Yeah.
So
it's what's challenging here is yarn shops like they exist in the US do not exist here. Most of what gets woven is done with half a dozen yarns or fewer, and of that, most of it is 20/2 cotton. So fine cottons, no end of colors, and lots of it available. But the variety of stuff that's in the US, including there's almost no wool here, that just doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm rethinking a lot of things.
Sure. And are you using 22 cotton?
I am. Yeah.
So that's
yes.
a challenge, right?
Yes. A year or two ago, I thought, okay, I'm not going to do this or longer because I can't see it anymore. But since that's my choice, I'm going to get better glasses. I'm putting more light. I've got my loom set right where the morning sun comes. And I go at it when I'm threading or trying to slay a reed. I go at it at 8 o'clock in the morning when the full sun is on it. Yeah.
So you've been living in Guatemala for about 20 years now.
Uh-huh.
And first of all, I want you to talk a little bit about Mayan Hands, which you were the executive director for a while. But also, what is it like living in a country where textiles and weaving are really part of everyday life? There's so much in terms of what people do that's surrounded by textiles. We don't have that in this country. So, can you talk about that and also what is going on in weaving in Guatemala right now?
Sure. That's several
That's
huge topics. That's a lot, right? But I'll do my best to shrink it down. So first of all, I wasn't executive director. I was the in-country director, and Mayan Hands is based in New York. And so if there's an executive director, she was there. That would have been Brenda Rosenbaum. So that's one. Second is that what Mayan Hands does, because you mentioned that, it's a fair trade organization that works with weavers, trying to help them earn a living through their weaving, which is no small feat in this country, because there are, by most guesses, 500,000 weavers, which percentage-wise is just staggering compared to the U.S. It is 99% of them are Mayans, and in the western part of the country, in the Western Highlands, weaving is is just all around you. You can't escape it. So anywhere you go, you're surrounded by hand-woven textiles in the markets and on people's bodies and hanging wherever. It's quite remarkable. In the eastern part of the country, which is not Mayan, many people don't even know it exists. So it's in the city, of course, is a mix. I mean, it's a city. So there are 4 million people here, and they don't know, as in many cities, they don't know that much about what's going on in rural areas. But to get out into that part of the country, the textiles are not just their livelihood, but they're also a major part of the culture. They call it how we told our stories before there were books, because so many of the textiles include symbols and stories and history and meaning and all that kind of stuff. It's changing radically now. It used to be that every village had its own pattern, and that pattern defined where somebody was from. If a woman was wearing a huipil from San Juan, then that meant she was from San Juan. And if she's wearing a huipil from someplace else, it meant she was from someplace else. That's no longer the case for a lot of reasons. And so what's happening is that people are wearing huipils from everywhere. So you can still tell where a huipil is from, maybe, but not where the person is from. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that women are far freer now to weave whatever they feel like. So I've seen huipils with kittens all over them, and I've seen huipils with other kinds of flowers all over them. What I do see is that they're using the same techniques. And this is what I'm wearing is a huipil. It's a woman's top. And they're mostly woven on backstrap looms, not all, but mostly. They're mostly brocade woven, not all, but mostly. Some are embroidered. And each village does have its own techniques. And what I see is that they may be weaving kittens now, but they're using the same technique that they were using before. So it's a real interesting mix of what's going on. And cultural appropriation is a gigantic topic here. You can talk with people where weaving is a very hot, politically divisive, energetic topic, and then there are people who just weave because they love to weave, and that's what they're doing for their family, and they aren't into all that stuff. So if people want to know more about Guatemalan weaving and weavers, you've written 2 books on the subject. I've written 2 books by Thrums. Yes, Thrums are our new favorite publisher. And one of them is about 20 different weavers, artisans themselves, and it just tells their stories, and it includes their weaving lives, but it includes the rest of their lives also. And that one is called Traditional Weavers of Guatemala, Their Stories, Their Lives. And the other book, which is more recent, is a textile tourist guide to Guatemala. And it's definitely not a replacement for Lonely Planet or any of those. It does have hotels and restaurants listed, and it's written out by area. But what it talks about is the textiles of each area and how to know if you're looking at a hand woven piece versus a machine woven piece, which is now all too prevalent, or how to know if it's backstrap woven versus floor loom woven, or even draw loom woven, or embroidered. And there's a tremendous amount of complexity in the textiles. And so the big question is, if you're looking at something that's hugely complicated, are you looking at 2 pieces that are hugely complicated? Why does one of them cost 50 and the other one cost 500? And it's because of how they were done. And so that's what the book talks about. So plus, both of them are full of, pardon? Well, both of them are full of spectacular photography by Joe Coca. Yeah. So for that alone, they're worth it. So you can order that from Thrum Books. Yes. Which is pretty easy to get. The other thing I'd like to mention is, for many years, we have sold Guatemalan bags made by, yes, I'm not sure if it's just Mayan Hands people, but weavers, but a cooperative of weavers. They're woven on floor looms, and they're amazingly beautiful. And we have a large size and a small size. They're available on the Schacht website, and this is a great way to support the weavers in Guatemala, as well as to order
weavings from Mayan Hands, which they have a website that you can order from. So Deborah,
Yeah, those bags are definitely woven by Mayan Hands weavers on footlooms, and they're pretty amazing.
yeah,
They're
and
those footloom weavers say that a sample warp is 30 yards.
ours
To
is
give you
30
some.
inches.
Exactly.
So I want you to talk about how, you know, your views and feelings, you might have touched on this a little bit, because you grew up learning to weave and teaching and weaving in the United States, and then you moved to Guatemala. How has your view of weaving and you as a weaver changed in this 20 years?
I think it certainly has. My understanding of weaving has expanded, because while I came here understanding structure and how cloth works and how weavers work and all that kind of stuff, there were a lot of things that were very mysterious to me as to how and why they did them that way. And I've learned amazing things. I mean, the most mysterious for the longest time was everybody said, if you buy a new reed, you have to buy new heddles. And I could not get that. And that seemed just crazy to me. But if you bought a new reed, you had to buy new heddles. And I finally found out that that's because heddles are tied together to fit the reed and in a particular pattern. So if you want a different pattern, you have to buy new heddles too. They don't move around like our heddles do. I think for a long time I didn't weave much, partly because I wasn't sure how to incorporate what I was learning, and I felt like I should. And I finally got it a few years ago that it's not up to me to adapt their traditions. It's up to me to embrace my traditions. So I wove my first Lee surrender, which was a very hot topic when I was starting to weave in the 70s. And so I finally wove mine in 2019 or something. And I've been having fun doing that, but certainly what's changed is what yarn I'm using. I've liked fine yarns before, but they were more fine linens. Now they're fine cottons only. Probably I mostly don't know, because I'm not an artist, and so I don't articulate things quite that way. Yeah, what else did you ask me? Something else I thought I could answer.
I don't remember, but I have something to show you to see if you can recognize it.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Do you recognize that?
Not specifically.
This is a napkin you wove for Barry and me as a wedding present 39 years ago.
Wow.
And I'm still using them.
Yay.
I know. And so this is one of the things that I love about weaving, is the meaning it gives textiles. So every time, truly, every time I use these napkins or iron them or wash them or touch them, I think of you, right? So isn't that so nice that when I use something made by someone I know, I think of them?
Yes. Yes. And I believe that. It looks like something I'd have woven. Yes. What surprises me is I go visit friends who I haven't seen in 20 or 30 years, and I'll see something there and it's like, wow, that looks really familiar. I guess I did that, didn't I? And I love that. And I love giving hand-woven things as gifts. That's, you know, even better than cookies. They last longer and they're not fattening.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Right. I mean, during COVID, with my long hair, one of the things we've been doing is, and we certainly never planned this, but we've been making cookies for somebody almost every week. And it's just, you know, a nice little loving gesture we can do for our neighbors. Yeah. Yeah. So it's great to be weaving things now for my nieces and for other people who I care about. I've always done that. I've never sold anything. I've only just given zillions of gifts.
Yeah, me too. So Deborah, anything else you want to share with our audience?
I think Weaving and Spinning Week is important. I mean, it's, you know, it's a lark like National Pickle Week, but it also is a way for us to really share this thing that I believe that weaving is important. I believe that weaving is good for people's souls and good for our hands and good for sharing. And what has kept me in love with weaving forever is that it, no matter what ails you, it helps, whether you have physical problems or mental problems or spiritual problems or social problems or whatever. There's some way that weaving can help that out. And that just boggles my mind. I think all craft is good. I think all art is good, but I think that weaving is even more flexible than most. I mean, I love pottery, but it breaks. I'm glad I don't have to carry it around, you know. I have a lot of it, but it's heavy. And textiles are so diverse. I mean, it's no small thing that after food comes textiles in terms of the human condition and the human activity. And I think that National Spinning and Weaving Week is just a celebration of that. And I hope that everybody will celebrate it, even if you don't go out and celebrate it in your house, you know, drink a toast to your loom and whatever else can make you happy.
I think that's great. So I hope everyone will use Deborah's advice and really celebrate however you celebrate this week. I think you're very right, Deborah, in how much weaving gives our life, not just in the craft, but in the community that it creates for us. And I would encourage everyone to reach out to their fellow weavers and just weave and spin this week. So Deborah, thanks for joining us. I hope we can talk again soon. Seems like We're so close, even though you're all the way down there in Guatemala.
It's a ways,
So,
right?
Take care, and we'll
Thank
talk
you.
to you soon.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
good. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.